Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. I am glad you're here, but this really isn't a fun one for me. So I'm actually sad by this, and I'm actually a little bit disturbed by it. So, and I want to share with you the facts about this breaking news, this incident that just occurred 3 days ago. And I want to share it with you and let you make some decisions. And I'm hoping that this sharing will get you and your leadership, or if you're the leader, it'll help get you thinking about this at least. No judgment on my part, not trying to press upon you my thoughts, but I want to share with you about this and get us thinking about this. This is great training material and great discussion material. So this comes out of Sacramento County, California, 3 days ago. It's a church in just outside of the city of Sacramento, and they're allowing a 39-year-old male to do a visitation with his daughters. He needs to have supervised visitation with his 3 young daughters. During this visitation, he shoots and kills his daughters, shoots and kills himself, and shoots and kills the church elder, who is 59 years old, who is doing the supervision of this visitation. So he's been told, the 39-year-old male, the shooter, has been told he can't be with his children alone. So let's talk about this a little bit. You know, according to the reports, it was a 4-hour supervised visit, supervised by that church elder, and the shooter had been living at the church. Let's start thinking about this now. Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, the SO, says that this is described as domestic violence, a domestic violence incident. The shooter had been having recent issues. And now sometimes you can say we don't know, but in this case it sounds like the church elder knew about these things, at least a little bit. So days before the shooting, this shooter who was living at the church had been arrested for assaulting a police officer, resisting arrest, and driving under the influence. And this occurred just an hour or so away from Sacramento County. Now, he had a restraining order against him, which means there's fear of domestic violence or fear of injury or worse. And that, apparently, that restraining order has to be served. It's legal court papers. Those were served to him by that church elder last May. So almost, what are we looking at, 10 months ago, 9, 10, 11 months ago, somewhere in there. The restraining order said that the mother of the children feared for her life, that this 39-year-old suspect had threatened to kill her. Last April, the same suspect, so again, 10, 12 months ago, he was taken into custody for a mental health evaluation. So keep that in mind. So, and the suspect had been somewhere in this time period, had been required to take anger management courses by the courts. He had been required to do that. So if you look at this, and so let's get rid of the idea that we didn't know about it, for examples here. And I'm not disrespecting this church. That's why I'm not even mentioning their names, nobody's names, because I want to talk about the facts. And the facts is it seems like we knew this guy was having some kind of issues, anger management issues, domestic violence issues, probably mental health issues, since the mental health stuff occurred before the restraining order was served. So there was no doubt some discussion of that, I'm guessing. That's why, this is bad. The church is helping serve the restraining order, helping him. Hey, and I'm all about loving people. Don't get me wrong. I'm an action kind of guy, but I'm also the guy that wants to love on people. I want to see them get ministered to. I want them to hear the news, the good news. So, but here, you and I've got to have a discussion here, because we've allowed this guy to come in here, and I'm asking, the shooter's made bad decisions over his life, and he has issues. Love on him? Absolutely. But do we bring him to our church? Do we bring these violent people to our church when we know? It's a question. I'm not putting it on you. I'm not telling you how you have to act, but it's a question. Where do we draw the line? Because if you think about it, I made a few notes. After this incident last Saturday, I'm guessing the church was no doubt closed on Sunday. I didn't read reports about that. I didn't call them and ask them. But now, how many weeks is that church going to have to be closed? There'll be the evidence processing. That stuff will be over in a week. But you got to clean up this mess. Let's be frank for a minute. And, and so now this could drag into 1, 2, 3 weeks. And then, honestly, how long before people are comfortable coming back to that church? How long is it before people feel comfortable coming back? How many people are you going to lose because they're so distraught over this incident? They're just so upset. Maybe they were related to the church elder. Maybe they were great friends with the church elder, and just all the negative emotions that this brings. And again, I'm all about the loving people and all of that, but how much is this going to disrupt your church because of this situation? How much suffering, and will this draw other danger and other people? Will they be attracted to your church because of this? Other mental health patients? I don't know. And some of you might look at it as, hey, that's a good thing, but I don't know, bringing this danger there and then having this disruption, is that really a good thing to the overall mission and function of the church? What we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be loving people. We're supposed to be a great place for them to come and worship and be filled and be educated and be, all of those things, all those positive things. But now it's disrupted because of one person and because of the decisions they've made throughout their life, whatever's gotten them to that point. And where do we draw the line on that? So I'm just mentioning to you, they're led to this point in their life by their decisions, by their situations. Do we pray for them? Yes. Do we go other places and meet them and worship and minister to them? Do we help them out? If they need shelter, can we help them out by getting them a motel or helping them find shelter? Those kind of things. But bringing a person to the church, and this is my main point, for discussion, not to tell you what to do, but I think it's important for us to have a discussion and your team to have a discussion. Do we bring a guy to the church and let him stay here? Let him bring his visitations here, bring his issues here to this church that we know is violent? This is not just a hurting person. This is a violent person who has mental health issues, been arrested for assaulting a police officer, and all of those kind of things. Now, do I want you to leave a comment? Absolutely, leave a comment. Do I think this is going to stir up emotions, maybe even some negative stuff towards what I'm saying? Absolutely. But I hope you will hear my point, and that is we need to love people. We need to be a church. We need to minister to people. We need to open our doors to people. But at what point do we draw that line? That is my point. At what time do we then move into protecting the church? And this goes beyond this. This goes to Saturday morning or Sunday morning or Saturday night, whenever you meet. This goes to the same thing when somebody comes to the door that has obvious mental health issues. They're wearing a long trench coat. They're wearing a wig, whatever it looks like happened in Texas a couple years ago. Do we let that individual in, or do we draw the line and say something just is not right here and keep this person out? The same with the person who's having a lot of issues. Should we say, we're going to minister to you off campus at another location, we're going to help you out in other ways, but we're not going to bring you into the church where it can cause issues for our church, for our people, for our reputation, for the warmth of our facility, as far as people seeing it and wanting to feel welcomed and feel like this is a great place to go. Again, it's a discussion that we need to have and that we each need to have about our churches. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching this. Leave a comment. I don't care how you feel. Leave me a comment. I want to hear about what your thoughts are, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.